What if the door you've been pounding on from the outside has always opened inward? What if the reason you can't seem to grasp love, calm, or success is not that life is withholding them, but that your hands are too busy proving you deserve them to gently receive? This isn't punishment. It's a mirror. And the image it returns is simple. The world answers to the way you hold yourself. When you stop bargaining with your worth and stand in it, the current shifts. What you once chased begins to turn its face toward you, not because you finally shouted loud enough, but because you finally became quiet enough to hear how to welcome it. The Buddha never taught us to outrun suffering. He taught us to understand its causes. Beneath the frantic reaching, more effort, more noise, more strategies often hides a shy belief, I am not yet worthy. That belief is like a subtle wind against the grain of your life. You can row harder if you like, but the water still wrinkles with refusal. The wise trade force for alignment. They don't stop acting. They stop acting from fear. Consider a garden on a cliff. A gardener places a sapling too near the edge and spends his days staking it, covering it, pleading with it to live. The wind whips anyway. One day, a monk happens by and says nothing. He simply lifts the sapling, crumbles fresh soil in a calmer patch, and sets it down where roots can drink deeply. The gardener keeps his rituals. The monk changes the ground. Self-love is changing the ground. It's moving the tree of your life from the edge of approval to the soil of inherent worth. From there, growth no longer needs begging. It becomes the most natural thing in the world. We are trained to seek verdicts outside us, grades, titles, followers, the sudden bright yes of being chosen. Buddhism points us home. Mind is chief. All things are colored by it. You do not magnetize what you chant for while trembling. You magnetize what your nervous system has learned to call safe. If your body associates calm with danger and chaos with love, you'll keep inviting storms and calling them destiny. The practice is to make peace feel like home again. Close your eyes for a breath or two. Let the spine rise as if a thin silk thread lifts the crown of your head. Soften the jaw, the belly, the place behind the heart. Inhale as though the whole sky is entering you. Exhale like a tide returning to itself. Notice you don't pull the breath in by force. You allow it. Receiving is a form of wisdom. People ask, if I stop chasing, won't everything stall? Not if you replace chasing with presence. Chasing is sprinting in fog, hoping sheer speed will manufacture clarity. Presence is lighting a lantern and letting fog reveal the nearest step. The lantern does not lunge. It illuminates. From illumination, the right motion arises almost of itself. The Lotus Sutra says the flower blooms not because it strives to be a flower, but because conditions are right. Your work is conditions. Let me tell you a story. A young calligrapher wanted his characters to dance with life. He copied masters until his wrist ached. He pressed harder. He threw out sheets for the smallest wobble. One evening, his teacher poured tea until the cup brimmed over. "Master," the student cried, "you're spilling." The teacher smiled, set the pot down, and dipped his brush in the puddle. On scrap paper, he drew lines so easy they seemed to breathe. "Full cup," he said, "no space. Full mind, no flow. Empty yourself." The student stopped gripping the brush like a proof of existence. He began to sit before writing, to feel his breath, to let the stroke paint itself. What changed? Not the ink, not the paper, but the hand that held them. When the hand softened, life entered the line. So it is with you. When the "prove I am enough" fist loosens, blessings find an opening. Self-love here is not indulgence. It is right view. You are not the sum of what you acquire. You are the spaciousness that allows things to come and go without stealing your center. Impermanence. Anicca does not threaten the worthy, it frees them. It says nothing you gain can crown you, nothing you lose can unmake you. Anatta. The teaching of not-self loosens the costume you keep mistaking for your essence. When you forget this, neediness clings. When you remember kindness, relaxes the grip. How do I remember practice meeting the part of you that thinks it must hustle for oxygen? Not to silence it, but to sit beside it like an elder with a frightened child. Put a hand to your chest. Feel the warmth. Say softly, even this belongs. Even this is loved. The inner war quiets not by conquest, but by recognition. Metta-loving kindness is not theoretical. It is a daily posture toward your own trembling. Each time you choose tenderness over self-attack, the universe has one less reason to echo cruelty back to you. You may be tempted to ask for a technique that guarantees results. The Dharma offers something better, causes that reliably ripen. Cause 1, clarity. Name the desire without disguising it. I long for companionship. I long for meaningful work. Speak it plainly. The mind respects honesty. Cause 2, right effort. Act without self-betrayal. Send the application, write the message, study the craft, but do so from the place that already knows your dignity. Cause 3, relinquishment. Place the seed and let the earth be the earth. Prodding the soil every hour interrupts the germination you begged for. There is a reason stillness is magnetic. Noise repels because it confesses distrust. Imagine you enter a room and someone grasps your sleeve. Don't leave. Please notice me. Please prove I exist. Your whole body wants distance. Now imagine walking into a room where someone is simply attentive, present, porous, unhooked. You find yourself drawing near, not because they asked, but because their being makes nearness easy. Life behaves the same way. The right people and opportunities aren't repelled by your wishes. They are repelled by the panic braided into them. Unbraid the panic and wish becomes welcome. What about ambition? Must we toss it like an old coat? No. Ambition purified by wisdom becomes vow. The Bodhisattva's vow is fierce, but not frantic. It marches without marching because its origin is compassion, not deficit. You can build, pursue, aspire, and still radiate rest. The difference is whether you're bargaining for worth or expressing it. One empties you, the other empties through you and leaves you fuller. If you need a test, try this before your next important action. Pause for 1 breath and ask, from what am I moving, fear or love? If fear, wait for 1 more breath. Let the body feel safety again. Feet on floor, air in lungs, ground, holding you without invoices. Then move. You will notice the same words sound different. The same step lands differently when laid down from enoughness. Outcomes may still take time, but time stops feeling like an enemy. Patience is simply trust wearing hours. There will be days you forget. On those days, make your practice ridiculously small. A sip of water attentively. 3 mindful steps between rooms. Naming 1 thing you did well, even if it is, I return to my breath. Small fidelity plants great forests. Do not despise the seed, because it is not yet shade. Finally, hear this. You are not an empty vessel needing trophies to be filled. You are the open sky where trophies rust and flowers bloom, and still the sky remains unthreatened. When you know this in your bones, you stop demanding that life crown you to feel real. You start offering your presence as the crown you carry. Paradoxically, visibility grows not from shouting your name, but from living so congruently that your silence introduces you. Let the old contract end. I will exhaust myself and call the wreckage love. Sign a gentler one. I will honor myself and call the calm power. The first contract spends your life. The second multiplies it. From here, attraction is not a trick. It's a byproduct. You become the kind of field where good seeds want to land, the kind of shore where boats rest without fear of rocks. Not because you finally mastered the chase, but because you learned to become a home. There comes a moment in every seeker's path when the universe seems silent, as if all the prayers you've whispered have floated into nothingness. You question your worth again. You wonder, why do I keep attracting the same pain, the same silence, the same lessons wearing new faces? Buddhism answers not with punishment, but with reflection. The world does not give you what you ask for. It gives you what your energy says is safe to receive. And that energy is shaped not by your words, but by the way you hold yourself in the quiet hours when no one is watching. We often speak of manifestation as if the universe were a vending machine. Insert effort, press the right sequence of thoughts, receive reward. But the Dharma whispers a gentler truth. The world is not a transaction, it is an echo. It cannot return a song you have not sung inwardly. So if the melody of your inner being is fractured, if you secretly believe you are undeserving of love, even the sweetest gifts will taste faint. Like water leaking from a cracked bowl, joy will escape through the places you refuse to tend. Imagine your soul as that bowl. Most of us spend years trying to fill it with people, possessions, accomplishments, only to watch it empty again by nightfall. No matter how much we pour in, something keeps seeping out. Buddhism doesn't tell you to stop filling. It teaches you to heal the vessel. There is an ancient Japanese art called kintsugi, repairing broken pottery with gold. The artist does not hide the cracks. They trace them, highlight them, turn them into the most beautiful part of the design. The golden veins become proof of survival, not symbols of shame. Your pain can be the same. When you meet it with love instead of judgment, the fracture begins to glow. You stop leaking joy because you stop leaking self-respect. Think of the wounds you carry, the childhood rejection, the failed dream, the betrayal. Most people try to move on without looking, but the Buddha taught that what we resist persists. Ignored pain turns to shadow, and shadows silently rule. The work of awakening is to turn toward what hurts softly, like sunrise spilling over dark hills. To say, yes, this too belongs. Not because you enjoy suffering, but because truth liberates, and pretending never does. A monk once asked his master, "How do I find peace?" The master replied, "First, find all the places you are at war. We make enemies of our own emotions, anger, grief, jealousy, and call it self-control. But true control is not suppression. It is understanding. When anger is seen clearly, it loses its claws. When grief is allowed to weep, it transforms into tenderness. This is how compassion is born, not from rejecting the storm, but from learning to walk calmly in its rain. Ask yourself, are you manifesting from pain or from peace? Many of us try to create, while secretly believing we are broken. We set goals to prove our value, chase love, to silence loneliness, pursue success, to earn belonging. But the universe listens to your energy, not your explanation. If you radiate lack, life echoes lack. If you radiate wholeness, life mirrors wholeness. The shift doesn't require perfection, only honesty. You don't need to be fully healed to attract love. You only need to stop pretending you're unworthy of it. Take a deep breath, Feel where the body still flinches, that small tightening in the chest, that flutter of doubt beneath the ribs. Don't rush it away. That's the part of you still believing it must fight for survival. Place your hand there and whisper, "I see you. You are safe now." The moment you treat yourself with the gentleness you crave from the world, your reality begins to rearrange. The outer mirrors the inner, not instantly, but inevitably. Like a seed beneath snow, unseen progress grows roots. You may think, but how do I keep faith when nothing changes? Faith in Buddhism is not blind optimism. It is the calm knowing that causes ripen when conditions are right. You cannot rush spring. You can only tend the soil. Each act of self-kindness, each moment of awareness, each boundary set with love, all of it gathers beneath the surface until the blossom breaks through. The miracle is not that flowers grow. It's that they never stop trying. When you begin to see yourself as worthy, not someday, but now, your energy shifts. You stop auditioning for love. You stop mistaking crumbs for banquets. You stop clinging to people who only echo your old doubts. And as your vibration steadies, the universe adjusts its orbit around you. What no longer matches falls away quietly. What resonates draws near. This is not magic. It is resonance, the physics of the soul. The Buddha said, "You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection." That was not sentiment. It was strategy. When you love yourself, you raise the energetic minimum of your life. You no longer settle for what diminishes you, because it no longer feels familiar. That is why self-love transforms not just how you feel, but what you attract. The frequency of self-respect repels chaos as naturally as light repels darkness. Picture this. You are standing in front of a mirror of water. The surface is calm, reflecting the sky perfectly. Now imagine tossing a stone of self-criticism into it. The reflection warps. You can't see clearly anymore. The world is that water. Every harsh thought you throw distorts your own reflection. Every act of gentleness stills it again. Peace is clarity, and clarity is power. What if instead of trying to be better, you tried to be kinder, especially to yourself? Most people mistake self-love for arrogance, but arrogance is just insecurity. Wearing armor. True self-love is humility. It says, "I am a part of the same sacred fabric as everyone else." From that knowing, compassion expands outward naturally. The more you accept your own humanity, the less you need to judge others for theirs. You stop competing, comparing, controlling. You start coexisting. And here lies the paradox. When you stop needing others to validate you, you become magnetic to people who naturally do. Because energy recognizes energy. Wholeness attracts. Wounds repel not as punishment, but as a reminder of where you still need to mend. Every person who frustrates you, every situation that repeats, is a teacher disguised as an echo. They return not to hurt you, but to show you what within still believes it deserves less. So pause. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What part of me is this revealing?" Then listen, not with your mind, but with your heart. The answer may not be in words. It may arrive as a release, a sigh, a sudden quietness inside. That quietness is not emptiness, it's integration. It's the sound of the cracks sealing with gold. Let's end this part with a simple reflection. Put one hand on your heart and one on your belly. Whisper to yourself, "I am no longer broken. I am becoming whole." Feel the warmth spread beneath your palm. That warmth is the beginning of a new reality. It's the vibration of worthiness, soft but unstoppable. the world will feel it soon enough, because what glows within cannot stay hidden for long. Remember, healing is not fixing, it's remembering. You were never less than enough. You simply forgot the rhythm of your own divinity, and when you remember, life begins to mirror that remembrance back to you in people and moments and quiet miracles that feel like homecoming. There is a silence more powerful than 1,000 prayers, the silence that rises when the mind stops begging and starts trusting. In Buddhism, this is called samatha, the stillness that steadies the heart and clarifies the way. When you learn to rest in that stillness, life stops feeling like a series of obstacles and begins to unfold as an intricate wordless teaching. Because silence does not mean absence, it means presence without noise. And within that presence, truth begins to speak. The modern world rewards noise, the louder the better. We measure impact by visibility, worth by applause. We scroll endlessly through the clamor of everyone trying to be seen. But the Buddha's way turns in the opposite direction. It says, "The most radiant light makes no sound. The lotus does not announce its blooming. The mountain does not perform its height. Their power lies in their being, not their broadcasting." And so it is with you. The moment you stop shouting for recognition and instead become deeply still in who you are, life begins to notice. Why does stillness attract? Because it signals trust. The still person is not indifferent. They are anchored. They have surrendered the frantic need to be chosen because they already belong to themselves. You can feel this energy when you meet someone who is quietly confident. They do not grasp for validation, yet everyone feels drawn to them. Their silence has gravity. It pulls not through force, but through harmony. Close your eyes. Picture a pond at dawn. Mist drifts over the surface. The first bird calls echo in the distance. Now imagine throwing a stone into the water. Ripples disturb the reflection. The moon, once clear, fragments into trembling shards. This is what happens when the mind races, when you let fear or comparison cloud your calm. The reflection of truth becomes distorted. But when you stop throwing stones, the water settles on its own. The moon returns whole. In that stillness, reality aligns again. People often mistake stillness for laziness. If I don't chase, nothing will come, they say. But the law of life is not chase and catch. It is align and allow. Stillness is not the end of movement. It is movement guided by clarity. Like an archer who breathes before releasing the arrow, stillness precedes precision. The hurried mind shoots wildly and misses. The centered mind needs only one shot. A student once asked a Zen master, "What is enlightenment?" The master poured tea into a cup until it overflowed. "Why do you keep pouring?" The student cried. The master said, "How can I pour truth into a mind already full?" Stillness empties the cup. When you let go of mental noise, the need to prove, to control, to fix, wisdom finds space to enter. Truth is not something you acquire. It's something that reveals itself when you stop interrupting. Think about how much of your life has been spent in performance performing, confidence performing, worth performing, calm. Each role a mask carved by fear. The quiet path invites you to set those masks down, to breathe and let the raw, unpolished you exist without apology. That version may not be glamorous, but it is real, and reality carries its own fragrance. You don't need to sell authenticity. Authenticity sells itself. So many ask, why am I unseen despite all I do? Because being heard is not about volume, it's about vibration. When your inner world hums with peace, the outer world naturally resonates. When your heart is steady, your presence becomes unforgettable. This is the paradox of stillness. It makes you more visible by making you less noisy. Like the candle in a dark room, you don't need to announce the light. The darkness does it for you. Let us look deeper. Stillness is the natural state of the awakened mind. Movement arises within it, but it is never disturbed. The waves dance, yet the ocean remains vast beneath them. Meditation is the remembrance of this truth, that you are not the wave of thought, emotion, or event, but the ocean itself. Once you rest, as the ocean life's storms lose their power to define you, you still feel the rain, but you no longer drown in it. You may ask, but how do I find that calm when my world is chaos? Begin with breath. The breath is the bridge between body and mind, between what changes and what witnesses change. Sit. Close your eyes. Feel the inhale stretch the ribs, the exhale soften the shoulders. Notice the pause between the two, that tiny stillness where neither in-breath nor out-breath exists. That pause is sacred. It is a doorway into peace. Expand that doorway, breath by breath, and you will begin to live from it, even as you move through noise. In Buddhism, there's a saying, when the mind is still, the universe surrenders. This is not mysticism, it is observation. When your inner chaos quiets, the outer chaos loses its hook. Problems remain, but suffering eases. You see choices where before you saw walls. The still mind doesn't need to control, it simply responds wisely. This is why peace is not passive, it is the highest intelligence. Think of water again. When stirred, it cannot reflect. When frozen, it cannot flow. True stillness is fluid clarity, alive, responsive, but unclouded. It bends with the world without breaking its nature. That is your goal, not to suppress motion, but to move without being moved away from yourself. The Buddha sat beneath the Bodhi tree, not to escape the world, but to see it clearly. And in that, still seeing, he awakened. You can too in the small moments of your own day, while washing dishes, walking to work, or listening to a friend's story, without the urge to fix them. Now ask yourself, where in your life are you still shouting to be understood? Where are you performing because you fear being invisible? What would happen if you trusted your presence more than your performance? The flower does not beg the bee, it simply opens. The mountain does not chase the clouds, it stands, and the sky adjusts. Could you live that way quietly, certain that who you are is already enough? Stillness does not make you invisible, it makes you undeniable, because when you love yourself enough to be still, you emit a frequency the universe cannot ignore. It's the soundless vibration of authenticity, the rarest, most magnetic energy in existence. In the end, the loudest power is the one that doesn't need to speak. So the next time you feel compelled to prove yourself, pause. Take one conscious breath. Let the noise settle. Then ask, what would love do from stillness? The answer may surprise you: a single word, a single silence, a single step, yet it will always align with peace. And when you walk from that place, life itself begins to soften around you. Because the world doesn't respond to how loudly you demand to be seen. It responds to how deeply you have already seen yourself. There is a sacred paradox at the heart of Buddhist wisdom. To truly receive what you desire, you must learn to let it go. Detachment is not the cold withdrawal of someone who no longer cares. It is the warm confidence of one who trusts that what is meant for them cannot be taken away. Detachment in its purest form is love without ownership, faith without control, desire without fear. It is the ultimate act of surrender, not because you are powerless, but because you have discovered a deeper kind of power, the power of trust. Most of us live clenched. We hold on to people, outcomes, identities, as if letting go would erase us. We grip the world until our knuckles whiten, terrified that release equals loss. But the Buddha taught the opposite. You only lose what you cling to. Clinging does not preserve, it suffocates. It squeezes life out of what could have breathed freely beside us. Think of a butterfly resting on your palm. The more you close your fingers to keep it, the more certain it is to fly away. Only an open hand can offer both safety and freedom. Why is letting go so difficult? Because deep within our conditioning lies a story that control equals security. We are taught to plan, to predict, to manage every variable of our future. Yet the truth is, the more we try to dominate life, the more life resists. It's like trying to command the ocean by shouting at its waves. You cannot stop the tide, but you can learn to surf its rhythm. Detachment is that surf. It is learning to dance with impermanence rather than wrestling it. Imagine your desire as a seed. You plant it in the soil of intention, perhaps a new job, a relationship, a dream you hold close. Now, if you keep digging up the seed every day to see whether it has grown, what happens? You interrupt its process. You expose its fragile roots to air and anxiety. The seed does not need your constant inspection. It needs your faith. So too do your dreams. Let them breathe. Let time be your collaborator, not your enemy. In Buddhism, detachment upekkha is one of the four immeasurables alongside loving kindness, compassion, and joy. It is not apathy, it is wisdom. To be detached is to remain steady amid change, compassionate without collapsing, generous without depletion. It is the quiet knowing that everything flows. People come, people go. Moments rise, moments fade. And yet beneath it all, there is something in you that remains awareness itself. That awareness is your true home. Everything else is weather. Close your eyes for a moment and picture a river. See how it moves, constant yet never hurried. No single drop resists its journey to the sea. Now imagine standing in that river, your arms outstretched, trying to hold on to the water rushing past. Exhausting, isn't it? That's what clinging feels like, fighting what's meant to move. Now open your hands. Feel the water flow around your fingers, cool, alive, effortless. You have not lost the river. You have finally joined it. That is detachment. Many people misunderstand detachment as avoidance, as though letting go means refusing to care. But Buddhist detachment is intimacy with life, not escape from it. It allows you to love more deeply, because you no longer demand that love prove itself through permanence. You can admire the rose without plucking it. You can savor the sunset without mourning its end. When you are detached, every moment becomes precious precisely because you know it will pass. Transience no longer terrifies you. It tenderizes you. It makes you present. Ask yourself honestly, what are you holding so tightly it cannot breathe? A person, a goal, an image of who you think you must become. Feel that tension. That strain is not love. It's fear wearing love's mask. Can you soften it even a little? Can you trust that what is truly yours cannot miss you, and what is not will leave gently when you are ready to let it? To detach is to declare faith in the intelligence of life. Here's a story. A young monk was desperate for enlightenment. He meditated day and night, barely slept, barely ate, pushing himself toward awakening. One evening, his teacher found him trembling, his eyes hollow. The teacher smiled and said, "My son, when you hold the string of a lute too tight, it snaps. When you hold it too loose, it makes no sound. Find the middle way and music begins. The monk wept. In his striving, he had forgotten the harmony of balance. The next morning, he simply sat, not to become enlightened, but to be. And in that being, the silence bloomed. Detachment is that middle way, neither apathy nor obsession, but balance born from wisdom. It doesn't ask you to stop caring. It asks you to stop contracting. The universe cannot deliver gifts to a closed fist. Open hands receive. Open hearts recognize. Open minds understand that life is never withholding. It's always responding to your readiness. You may wonder, but if I let go, won't I lose motivation? No, you'll lose exhaustion. Detachment doesn't strip you of goals. It purifies your relationship with them. You still move toward your dreams, but you no longer drag fear behind you. You replace anxiety with grace, control with cooperation. You work, but you also rest. You give, but you also receive. You desire, but you no longer demand. That's the quiet revolution of trust. Practice this. The next time you find yourself obsessing over an outcome, pause and take a full breath. As you exhale, whisper inwardly, I release control. I trust the timing. Feel your shoulders soften. Feel your mind unclench. You've just shifted from contraction to flow, from scarcity to abundance. That single breath carries the power to realign your entire energy field, because surrender is not weakness. It's alignment with reality. The Buddha's teaching on impermanence is not a threat, it's an invitation. It asks you to dance with change instead of fearing it. To watch clouds drift and remember that no storm is eternal. Every ending is simply space being made for a new beginning. When you cling, you block that space. When you release, life fills it with what's next. So let this be your mantra tonight. I want, but I trust. I care, but I release. I love, but I do not cling. Repeat it whenever the urge to control tightens your chest. Over time, this becomes second nature, the way you walk, speak, love, breathe. You begin to embody ease. And that ease is magnetic. The world recognizes it as the signature of someone who has learned to live in faith, not fear. Because the truth is, this: you are never punished by letting go. You are only punished by holding on. The universe cannot bless a hand too busy grasping. But the moment you release, life rushes in, not to take, but to fill. Detachment is the art of trusting that flow. And in that trust, peace ceases to be something you chase. It becomes who you are. What if healing isn't about fixing yourself, but about finally learning to hold your pain with tenderness? In a world obsessed with improvement, Buddhism offers a quieter truth. You don't need to be perfect to be at peace. You only need to stop abandoning yourself each time you hurt. Peace is not born from the absence of pain, but from the presence of love within it. To heal is not to erase your wounds, but to befriend them so deeply that they no longer frighten you. We live in a culture that treats pain like failure. The moment sadness appears, we rush to medicate, distract, explain, or hide it. Yet every emotion, even sorrow, carries intelligence. Anger shows where boundaries were crossed. Grief reveals what mattered. Fear points toward what we still believe we cannot handle. The Buddha taught that suffering, dukkha, is not the enemy, ignorance is. To suffer consciously is to awaken compassion. To suffer unconsciously is to repeat the same cycle again and again. Imagine your pain as a small child knocking on your door in the middle of the night. You can pretend not to hear. You can shout through the door, or you can open it, kneel down, and listen. That trembling child only wants safety to be seen, not silenced. When you welcome it home, the crying softens, The same is true for your inner wounds. The moment you stop judging them and start listening, the war inside you begins to quiet. Take your hand now, place it over your heart and whisper, "Even this deserves my love. Even the regret, even the shame, even the parts you wish would disappear. They too are fragments of your humanity, waiting to be integrated." This isn't weakness. It's courage in its purest form. Because to hold what hurts without turning away, that is real strength. That is compassion in motion. Many people mistake compassion for passivity, but in the Dharma, compassion is the highest form of power. It is the ability to face suffering, yours or another's, without flinching. It doesn't require you to fix what is broken. It asks you to sit beside it until it remembers its own wholeness. The Buddha once said, "Hatred does not cease by hatred, but only by love." The same is true of the hatred we direct inward. Self-hatred cannot heal itself. Only love can dissolve it. Ask yourself, where in your life are you still waging war against yourself? Is it in the mirror where you punish your reflection for not being enough? Is it in your mind where you replay the same mistakes as proof of failure? Is it in your relationships where you apologize for existing too loudly? Each act of inner violence drains the life from you. Healing begins the moment you choose a gentler language. Replace "What's wrong with me" with "What is this part of me trying to teach?" Pain is not punishment. It is a messenger. And messengers leave once their message is heard. In Buddhist psychology, this process is called vipassana, clear seeing. When you see clearly, even your darkness becomes transparent. You begin to notice that the emotion you feared was permanent is actually impermanent, rising and falling like waves on a shore. You see that beneath anger lies sadness, beneath sadness lies tenderness, and beneath tenderness lies love. Everything you thought was against you was actually guiding you home. Let's look at an example. There was once a sculptor who worked for months on a statue meant to embody peace. Every day he carved a little more, smoothing edges, perfecting details, but something still felt wrong. Frustrated, he smashed a small part of the statue and went to rest. When he returned the next morning, the morning light slipped through the crack, illuminating the sculpture from within. He finally saw it. The flaw had become the window. Sometimes what breaks you is what lets the light in. Your cracks aren't errors. They're entry points for grace. Healing, then, is not linear progress towards some imagined perfection. It's circular, a spiral that brings you back to the same lessons each time, with deeper understanding and softer eyes. Some days you'll feel whole. Others you'll ache again. Both are sacred. Both are proof that your heart is still alive. Don't measure your growth by how little you hurt, but by how lovingly you meet the hurting. True self-compassion is radical because it stops the cycle of inner violence that keeps humanity asleep. The moment you forgive yourself, you withdraw consent from suffering as a teacher. You no longer need pain to awaken you. Awareness has taken its place. You start relating to the world from fullness instead of lack, from gentleness instead of defense. You stop being the wounded one trying to heal and become the healing itself. Practice this throughout your day. Whenever self-criticism arises, pause and ask, would I speak this way to someone I love? If not, change your tone. Speak to yourself as you would to a friend, patient, understanding, honest. The mind will resist at first. It's been trained to believe cruelty equals motivation, but over time, kindness rewires the entire system. The nervous body begins to relax. The heart begins to trust again. And when you feel safe inside yourself, you become magnetic to peace outside yourself. Remember, the goal is not to erase your pain, but to end your resistance to it. Pain is like a knot. The more you pull, the tighter it gets. Compassion is the softening that allows it to untangle. Let your heart be the warm hands that untie what fear has bound. In that tenderness, suffering dissolves naturally. There will be moments when you fall back into old habits, when you criticize yourself, shut down, or numb out. When that happens, do not punish the relapse. Smile gently and say, I forgot for a moment. That's it. Each time you remember, you strengthen the muscle of awareness. The path of compassion is not perfection. It's persistence in kindness. The Buddha reached enlightenment not through self-denial, but through balance, the middle way between indulgence and cruelty. You can find your middle way too. And so, as this part ends, let this truth settle into your bones. You are not broken. You are becoming whole. Healing is not about changing who you are. It's about meeting who you are with love so complete that the need for change dissolves. When you stop running from your pain, you stop running from yourself, and that is the first taste of true freedom. What if every relationship in your life, every friend, every lover, every critic is simply a mirror reflecting the conversation you're having with yourself? This is one of the most subtle yet powerful truths in Buddhism. Your outer world is never separate from your inner world. The universe is not happening to you. It's happening through you. The way people treat you, the opportunities that arise or vanish, the chaos or peace surrounding you, all of it is a reflection of your own vibration. We often say we want love, respect, or understanding, but inside our thoughts tell a different story. We criticize ourselves for not being enough, apologize for our existence, and carry guilt for simply wanting more. The universe listens to that inner dialogue, not the words you speak out loud, because what you truly believe about yourself sets the tone for what you attract. The Buddha said, "With our thoughts, we make the world." Not because thoughts magically rearrange matter, but because they shape the energy through which we meet life, and life, like a mirror, reflects it back without bias. Imagine standing by a still pond. When the water is calm, it reflects your image perfectly. But when it's disturbed, the reflection warps. You might think the distortion is in your face, not realizing it's in the surface itself. The same is true of your relationships. If your inner world is restless, filled with self-judgment, fear, or resentment, even the kindest people can appear distant, untrustworthy, or critical. But when your heart is peaceful, the world becomes gentle too. The reflection is not the problem. The surface is. This does not mean everything that happens to you is your fault. The Dharma never blames. It reveals cause and effect. When you treat yourself with dignity, you naturally attract people who do the same. When you neglect your emotional needs, you unconsciously allow neglect from others. This is not punishment, it's precision. The universe adjusts to your frequency the way water conforms to a vessel. Change the shape of the container, and the reflection changes effortlessly. Let's consider a story. There was once a woman who complained to her master that everyone in her village was cruel and selfish. "Leave them," he said. She moved to another town only to find the same problem. When she returned exhausted, the master smiled, handed her a clean bowl, and said, "Wash it." Confused, she scrubbed until it gleamed. "Now," he said, "pour water inside." She did. "Look," he whispered. The water mirrored her face. You see, the world you move through is the bowl. Wherever you go, you take yourself. When your heart is clean, even muddy water can reflect the moon. So what is your inner dialogue saying about you right now? When you make a mistake, do you curse yourself or forgive yourself? When you look in the mirror, do you see a being becoming or a being lacking? That voice inside that constant stream of thought is the architect of your experience. And like any architect, you can redraw the blueprint. Begin small. Each morning before reaching for your phone, whisper 3 simple affirmations that feel true enough to believe I am learning to love myself. I am safe to take up space. I am allowed to be at peace. These statements are not spells, they are seeds. When repeated with sincerity, they reshape the soil of your subconscious. Over time, your external reality begins to grow from that new ground. Now look at your relationships through this lens. Every person who enters your life is a messenger. The kind ones remind you of the love you already hold. The difficult ones point toward the wounds you've yet to heal. When someone disrespects you, they're not defining your worth. They're revealing where you have forgotten it. When someone leaves you, they're not abandoning you. They're mirroring the parts of you that still fear being alone. Every reaction is a reflection. Every conflict, a classroom. Every heartbreak, a sermon on self-worth. The Buddha often compared the mind to a mirror that collects dust. With each act of self-forgiveness, you wipe it a little cleaner. Eventually, you no longer project your past onto the present. You begin to meet people as they are not as your pain perceives them. You stop repeating the same lessons in different bodies. And that is the moment when karma turns into freedom, not because fate changes, but because your seeing does. Here's a practice throughout your day. Notice your inner speech whenever someone frustrates or disappoints you. Instead of reacting outward, turn inward. Ask, what part of me is being reflected here? Maybe their impatience reveals your own. Maybe their coldness touches your hidden fear of rejection. This isn't self-blame, it's self-awareness. The mirror is neutral. It simply shows what is. Your job is to look with compassion, not judgment. Awareness heals what denial preserves. When you begin treating yourself with the love you crave, something extraordinary happens. Your energy shifts from seeking to radiating. You no longer chase attention. Your presence invites it. You no longer beg for understanding. Your peace speaks it silently. And those who cannot meet you at that frequency will naturally drift away, not out of drama, but out of resonance. Their leaving is not a loss. It's the clearing that makes room for what aligns. So ask yourself, are you teaching the world to love you or to overlook you? Every time you silence your truth to keep the peace you teach, neglect. Every time you honor your boundaries, you teach respect. Every act of self-care rewires the cosmos a little. This is not metaphor, it's energy in motion. The universe expands in response to integrity. Now imagine this. If someone treated you exactly the way you treat yourself, would you stay? If the answer hurts, don't despair. That realization is grace. It means the mirror is working. It's not too late to change the reflection. Every breath is a chance to rewrite your inner dialogue. Speak gently. Walk kindly. Honor your emotions the way you would a sacred guest. The tone you use with yourself is the vibration you send into the world, and the world will always harmonize to match. In the end, you don't attract what you want, you attract what you believe you are. When you finally start believing you deserve peace, love, and respect, the universe adjusts accordingly. Not because it suddenly favors you, but because you've stopped contradicting yourself with fear. Life listens more closely to your energy than your prayers. So let this be your quiet vow tonight. I will speak to myself as I would to someone I love. Let it echo through every interaction, every thought, every breath. Because when you learn to love yourself deeply, the mirror of the world smiles back. You stop asking, "Who will love me?" and begin realizing love has always been here, waiting for me to open the door. Peace is not the absence of noise, it is the presence of understanding. It is the still, unshaken core that remains when everything around you trembles. In the teachings of the Buddha, peace is not a luxury earned after struggle. It is a frequency available in every breath. The challenge is not finding peace, it is remembering it. For peace is not something you acquire, it is something you uncover once the dust of fear and striving has settled. In a world addicted to urgency, stillness can feel almost rebellious. We have been taught that value lies in movement, in constant productivity, in proving our relevance, in chasing the next accomplishment. But Buddhism reminds us that what truly holds power is calm. Still water reflects the moon, not because it works harder than the waves, but because it is still enough to receive. Likewise, a peaceful heart mirrors truth more clearly than one disturbed by endless motion. Ask yourself, how often do you rest in silence without trying to fill it? How often do you allow yourself to just be without an agenda, without measuring your worth by output? If your answer is rarely, you're not alone. We have mistaken rest for laziness, forgetting that silence is not empty. It is full of answers. Every great revelation in history was born from quiet, from monks beneath trees, from artists staring into space, from wanderers pausing long enough to hear life whisper back. Peace begins when you stop believing that struggle makes you worthy. You do not need to suffer to deserve calm. You only need to stop glorifying chaos. Many confuse excitement for aliveness, drama for depth, and exhaustion for importance. But the most profound lives are often the simplest, guided by clarity, not clutter. When you are at peace, you don't need to chase experiences to feel whole. You become the still center through which all experiences pass. Close your eyes now. Imagine sitting in a forest at dawn. The air is cool. The leaves sway gently. No grand event takes place, yet everything is happening. The trees breathe, the earth hums. The light expands slowly across the ground. This is peace participation without interference. Life does not need your control. It only needs your awareness. When you are present enough to witness without grasping, life reveals its perfection all on its own. People often say, "I'll feel peaceful once I finish this, once I fix that, once they understand me." But peace delayed is peace denied. The mind will always invent another condition, another obstacle, another after. The Buddha taught that peace is here now, in the space between one breath and the next. It doesn't wait for perfection. It waits for permission. Your permission to stop fighting what already is. So pause for a moment. Feel the breath rise and fall. Notice that even without your effort, the heart beats, the lungs expand, the body lives. Existence itself is already cooperating with you. You don't have to earn this support. You only need to relax into it. This realization that life itself is on your side is the beginning of inner peace. Yet why do we resist peace? Because stillness shows us everything we've tried to avoid. In silence, old griefs resurface. Forgotten regrets tap gently on the door. Many people fill their lives with noise, not to be productive, but to escape their own reflection. But Buddhism invites you to sit with that discomfort, to let silence reveal rather than conceal. The heart can only be cleansed by what it's willing to feel. Avoidance delays pain. Acceptance dissolves it. The most peaceful people are not untouched by suffering. They have simply stopped identifying with it. They've sat with their pain long enough to see it transform. Like alchemists, they've turned turmoil into insight, chaos into compassion. That's why peace is magnetic, because it radiates wholeness. When you encounter someone who is genuinely peaceful, you feel it immediately. Their energy doesn't pull or push. It rests, and that resting invites others to rest too. Peace, then, is a form of generosity. Your calm presence becomes a refuge for others. When you are no longer ruled by reactivity, you become an anchor in the storm. People feel safer around you, not because you have all the answers, but because you are not lost in the waves. Your silence says, "It's okay. There's no need to rush. We can breathe here." The Buddha called this metta in stillness, loving kindness, expressed not through words, but through vibration. Ask yourself now, what might life bring if you stopped demanding and started allowing? What might you attract if you replaced anxiety with trust? When you stop grasping, the world softens its grip too. Life becomes cooperative rather than combative. You discover that most of what you chased was already trying to reach you, but your struggle created static. Peace clears that static. It opens the channel through which blessings naturally flow. Try this practice once a day. Sit quietly for 5 minutes. No phone, no music, no goal. Simply breathe and notice. When your mind wanders, and it will gently bring it back, not with force, but with friendliness. Each time you return, you strengthen your capacity for peace. Over time, you'll notice that calm begins to follow you in traffic, in conversation, in uncertainty. Peace stops being a practice and becomes your nature. In Buddhism, it is said that a calm heart is the most powerful magnet. Why? Because when you no longer chase, you are in harmony with what is. The universe doesn't need to fight you to deliver your blessings. They arrive naturally, like ripened fruit falling into open hands. You cease to force outcomes. You begin to flow with them. That flow is grace, effortless action rooted in presence. Do not mistake peace for inaction. A peaceful being can move mountains because their energy is undivided. They act from clarity, not compulsion. The peaceful person still works, loves, creates, but their doing arises from being. Their effort is precise because it's guided by insight, not insecurity. Stillness does not mean sitting idle. It means moving from alignment rather than agitation. So tonight, before you sleep, whisper to yourself, "I release the noise. I return to the quiet truth within me." Let that be your prayer, your practice, your protection. For when your frequency is peace, your life begins to harmonize with it. Not immediately, but inevitably. You will begin to notice that what once felt distant starts arriving, naturally. Love, opportunity, inspiration. Not because you chased them, but because you finally became still enough to receive. Remember, peace isn't the reward for a perfect life. It is the soil from which a perfect life can grow. Need is a quiet thief. It steals your presence before it steals your peace. It makes you believe that something outside of you must complete what was never incomplete. Buddhism teaches that true receiving begins the moment you realize you already possess what you seek, not in form, but in essence. The energy of need says I am lacking. The energy of love says I am whole. And the universe, ever a perfect mirror, responds to whichever voice speaks louder. Look honestly at your life. Where has need disguised itself as love? Where has fear dressed itself as ambition? We call it passion when we chase desperately. But underneath that chase often lives a quiet terror. the terror of not being enough. The moment you believe you need something or someone to make you whole, you unconsciously repel it, because the vibration of need is rooted in scarcity, not trust. You cannot invite abundance from the energy of lack. You must become the abundance first. Imagine holding a thick rope. At the other end is something you desperately want: love, approval, control, success. You've been pulling for years, your palms blistered, your muscles tight. Yet the harder you pull, the further the rope seems to stretch. Now take a deep breath. What happens if you let go, not from defeat, but from faith? The tension dissolves. Your hands stop hurting. The space you feared would collapse around you actually expands. That space is the doorway through which life can finally enter. Need is not the same as longing. Longing is soft, open, patient, it allows. Need is sharp, urgent, demanding, it constricts. The Buddha described craving tanha as the root of suffering. It's not desire itself that causes pain, but the way we clutch at desire, insisting that fulfillment come in one particular form. When you loosen that clutch, you don't lose passion. You lose panic. And in the absence of panic, your natural magnetism returns. Here's a story. A monk was sweeping the courtyard when a young man ran up breathless. "Master," he said, "I have been praying day and night for enlightenment, yet nothing happens. What am I doing wrong?" The monk looked at him and asked, "When you chase a butterfly, what happens?" "It flies away," the man replied. "And when you are still, it may land on me." The monk smiled. "Then sweep." The young man frowned. "That's all, sweep with such peace," the master said, "that even enlightenment feels safe enough to land. That is the essence of receiving. What you are seeking is not hiding. It's waiting for you to stop chasing. The energy of need pushes away what it hopes to attract. The energy of trust draws it in, because the universe listens not to your words, but to your state. A restless heart cannot hold blessings. It spills them. A calm heart collects them naturally. Pause here. Close your eyes. Inhale slowly, then exhale as if releasing everything you've been gripping. Let your shoulders drop. Feel the emptiness that remains, wide, still, tender. This is not loss. This is readiness. You have not given up. You have opened up. That's what surrender really means. It's not about abandoning dreams. It's about letting go of the desperation that keeps them out of reach. We often think surrender will cost us everything, but in truth, it returns everything to its rightful place. When you stop forcing, you make room for flow. When you stop begging, you begin to receive. The universe has never been stingy. We have simply been too tense to let it in. Every clenched muscle is a prayer of distrust. Every exhale of faith loosens the gate. So ask yourself, what am I clinging to that's ready to be released? A relationship, an image of who I thought I'd be, a version of love that never truly loved me. Sometimes we hold on, not because it's right, but because it's familiar. The mind confuses safety with sameness. Detachment is the art of remembering that you are safe even without guarantees. Life doesn't reward control. It rewards cooperation. When you cooperate with the flow, you no longer chase, you harmonize. Neediness often hides in subtle places. In the text you send to check if they still care. In the way you overextend yourself to be liked. In the pressure to prove your worth before resting. Catch those moments gently, not to shame them, but to see through them. Each is a doorway back to wholeness. The moment you notice the urge to cling, breathe, and whisper, "Even if nothing changes, I am still enough," that sentence dissolves entire lifetimes of striving. It's easy to confuse need with love because both can make your heart race, but their roots differ. Love expands you. Need contracts you. Love says, I want to share my joy. Need says, I need you to fill my emptiness. The first builds connection. The second builds dependency. In the language of energy, love invites while need demands. And the universe, being neutral, echoes back whichever tone you choose. When you remember your own completeness, everything changes. You begin to love without clutching work, without obsessing, give without depleting. Your life moves from desperation to devotion. The Buddha called this non-attachment in action, to do with full heart, yet remain inwardly free. It's not that you stop caring, it's that you care without fear. You no longer chase outcomes, you nurture causes. And that subtle shift transforms your entire vibration. Look again at the rope in your hands. Can you feel how heavy it's been to pull? The skin raw, the body weary. Now with a deep breath, loosen your grip. Let the rope drop. For a moment, notice the weight that leaves your body. Notice the peace that takes its place. You have not lost the dream, you have released the suffering tied to it. From this space, new possibilities arise. Doors open. People return, synchronicities unfold, not as tests, but as reflections of your new ease. The irony is beautiful. The moment you no longer need, you begin to truly receive. Because energy follows truth, and the truest statement the soul can make is, I am already whole. From wholeness, everything flows. Love arrives not to complete you, but to celebrate you. Success comes not to prove your worth, but to express it. Joy appears not as reward, but as recognition. Tonight as you rest, place your hands over your heart and whisper, I release the need to prove. I choose to allow. Let that be your mantra. Let it echo through every cell. Feel how light your spirit becomes when you stop gripping life and start holding it gently. The greatest abundance is not in having everything, but in realizing you lack nothing. And so remember, you are not empty. You are the space everything is trying to enter. Trust that space. Honor it. Protect it. Because when you love yourself enough to stop begging, the universe finally has room to arrive. What if the secret to attracting what you desire isn't about asking harder, but about becoming what you seek? This is one of the most profound teachings in Buddhist philosophy. You do not receive what you want. You receive what you are. The world mirrors your vibration, not your vocabulary. Every thought, every habit, every tone of self-talk creates a frequency that silently broadcasts to the universe. This is who I am, and the universe, ever faithful, sends experiences to confirm it. So before asking for love, abundance, or clarity, pause and ask, do I embody what I'm asking for? If I desire loyalty, am I loyal to my own truth? If I long for peace, do I nourish my mind with peace or with comparison and fear? If I pray for abundance, do I live in gratitude or in lack? To want something while radiating its opposite is like planting a mango seed and expecting roses. The universe doesn't judge, it simply reflects. Buddhism calls this the law of interbeing, that everything you meet is connected to everything you emit. The external and internal are not separate. They are two sides of the same mirror. To change one, you must tend to the other. It's not about manipulating the world. It's about mastering your state of being. Because when your inner frequency shifts, the world has no choice but to rearrange around it. Picture a musician tuning her instrument before a performance. If one string is off, the entire piece sounds wrong no matter how skilled she is. The same goes for life. You can visualize, pray, or plan endlessly, but if your energy is out of tune, if it vibrates with doubt, resentment, or fear, your melody cannot harmonize with what you seek. So instead of demanding a different song, start tuning your strings. Each thought of gratitude, each act of self-respect, each breath taken in mindfulness tightens the cord of alignment. Close your eyes. Imagine your future self, not a distant fantasy, but the version of you who already lives in peace, love, and wholeness. How does that self speak? How do they move through the day? What do they allow, and what do they release? That version of you already exists in potential. It's not a dream, it's a vibration waiting for recognition. To manifest that reality, you don't have to reach for it, you have to remember it. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha says, "As the shadow follows the body, as we think, so we become." He doesn't say, "as we wish." He says, "as we think." Meaning, your daily internal climate determines your external weather. You cannot hide a storm inside and expect clear skies outside. But the beauty is, storms are temporary. They can pass if you stop clinging to them. So start here. Notice where your energy contradicts your desires. You say you want love but criticize yourself for not being lovable. You want abundance yet repeat, "I never have enough." You want peace, yet fill your mind with noise. Each contradiction is a subtle anchor holding you back. Awareness is the knife that cuts those anchors. Once you see the contradiction, you are free to choose alignment instead. A story tells of a monk who complained, "Master, my prayers are never answered." The master replied, "Perhaps because you pray like a beggar." "What do you mean?" asked the monk. "When you beg, you announce your lack. You remind the world you have nothing. But when you give thanks, you declare your fullness. Pray as if you already have, and you will see what you have had all along." Gratitude, the master explained, is the highest form of prayer, not because it flatters the universe, but because it harmonizes your energy with abundance itself. You may wonder, but what if I don't feel abundant? What if I feel lost or small? Then start there. Don't pretend to be what you're not. Embody honesty first. The energy of truth is more magnetic than the energy of performance. If you can sit in your lack without shame, you've already begun to transform it. Acceptance is the doorway through which every blessing enters. A wound, when touched with awareness, becomes a window. A heart, when cracked open, becomes a vessel. You don't need to fake positivity. You need to practice sincerity. Transformation begins the moment you stop trying to attract and start trying to align. Attraction is about chasing. Alignment is about becoming. When you align with love, you don't have to go find it. Love recognizes you as home. When you align with peace, chaos can visit, but not stay. When you align with abundance, opportunities naturally gravitate toward your energy, because scarcity no longer lives there. Here's a practical reflection. If you want love, be loving to yourself first, then to others without expectation. If you want freedom, practice letting go. Unclench one unnecessary worry each day. If you want clarity, cultivate stillness, because wisdom speaks only in quiet minds. If you want respect, respect your own boundaries. The universe cannot send you what you continually reject within yourself. This is not spiritual idealism. It is physics of the unseen. Frequency attracts frequency. When you embody what you seek, you eliminate the gap between wanting and having. Life no longer needs to bring you anything. It simply mirrors who you've become. It's easy to say, Become what you want. But what does that mean in practice? It means treating every small act as sacred rehearsal. You don't wait to feel worthy before loving yourself. You love yourself until worthiness feels natural. You don't wait for calm before meditating. You meditate to remember calm. The practice is the becoming. You become love by practicing kindness even when you feel lonely. You become peace by breathing through discomfort instead of reacting. You become abundance by giving without fear that giving will empty you. The world cannot resist such energy. Let's pause and breathe. Inhale through the nose. Exhale softly through the mouth. Whisper to yourself, I am aligning with what I seek. Again, I am aligning with what I seek. Feel how the words shift your state. You've moved from wanting to being. This is the path from wishful thinking to conscious creation. Many chase their dreams as if the dream were somewhere far ahead. But awakening reveals that the dream was always trying to catch up to you. It cannot reach you if you are running in the opposite direction of your own authenticity. Stop running. Stand still in your truth. What's meant for you will recognize you only when you stop disguising yourself as unworthy. And here lies the deepest teaching. You are not a magnet that attracts. You are the field itself. Everything you want is already vibrating within that field, waiting for you to remember it. When you finally do, when your energy matches the truth of your being, you stop chasing light because you realize you are the light. So tonight, instead of asking the universe for more, say softly, let me become what I seek. Then live as if it's already done. Speak kindly. Walk gently. Give freely, rest deeply. You'll notice the more you embody, the less you need to request. The more you align, the more effortlessly blessings flow. Because the universe doesn't give you what you demand. It mirrors what you have remembered yourself to be. There comes a moment in every awakening when you must let the old version of yourself die. Not because it was bad, but because it has fulfilled its purpose. You cannot become who you are meant to be while clinging to who you were forced to be. In Buddhist reflection, this is not death in the tragic sense. It is rebirth, the shedding of illusion, the surrender of false identities. Like autumn leaves releasing themselves to make space for spring, the self you outgrew must return to silence so your true essence can rise. The person who needed to please everyone, the one who apologized for taking up space, the one who measured worth through validation, those selves kept you alive once. They were survival, not selfhood. Bow to them with gratitude, then let them rest. For beneath them lives a quieter you, unarmored, unashamed, unconcerned with performing worth. That is your original nature. What Buddhism calls Buddha nature, the innate wholeness that has never been damaged, only forgotten. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine yourself standing in a field just before dawn. The air is still cool. Around you lie fragments of your old identities, like garments on the ground. The achiever, the pleaser, the skeptic, the doubter. You feel the instinct to pick them up to cover yourself, but something inside whispers, you no longer need those to be seen. You breathe deeply. The horizon blushes with light, and suddenly, you understand what you have been searching for was never outside. You were not waiting to become whole. You were waiting to stop pretending you weren't. Transformation often begins as loss. The caterpillar dissolves before it becomes the butterfly. The seed breaks before it becomes the tree. We fear dissolution because we mistake it for death, But the Buddha taught that impermanence is not destruction, it is renewal. To resist it is to stagnate. To surrender to it is to be reborn again and again, softer each time. Letting the old self die is not rejection, it's reverence. You honor its service, then free it from duty. Ask yourself now, which story about myself am I still clinging to? Perhaps it's the story of being unworthy, or too late, or too much. Perhaps it's the story of the one who always tries, but never receives. These stories are not truths. They are memories that have forgotten to retire. You do not need to destroy them, simply stop identifying with them. When you stop feeding them belief, they fade like mist in morning sun. To die to the old self is to step into reality unguarded. You stop filtering life through who you think you should be and begin meeting it as it is. This is freedom, the kind of freedom no circumstance can threaten. A Zen koan says, "When the mask falls, the face is the sky." That is what awakening feels like, vast, boundless, unburdened. You may ask, but who am I without my past? You are what witnessed it. You are the awareness that survived every version of you. You are not the wound. You are the light that kept shining through it. Once you realize this, forgiveness becomes effortless because you no longer identify with the one who erred, but with the one who learned. Every experience, even the painful ones, was polishing you into clarity. There is a deeper truth. Still, life will keep inviting you to die small deaths of ego, of expectation, of attachment, until you learn that nothing essential can ever be lost. The more identities you shed, the lighter you become. The lighter you become, the more easily grace carries you. You begin to understand that loss is simply the universe's way of clearing the stage for your next act of being. One day, you will look back and see that every ending was a mercy disguised as chaos, every heartbreak a doorway to self-recognition, every surrender a baptism. You will laugh softly and whisper, "It was never falling apart. It was falling open." And when you finally stop grasping at control, something miraculous happens. Your natural state, peace, love, joy, returns. These are not goals to chase. They are your original settings revealed when the noise quiets. To live from that space is to live as the Buddha lived, awake, compassionate, serene, not above the world, but within it, untouched by its storms. Now let us speak of power, true power, the kind that does not shout. Real strength is quiet confidence. It doesn't need to prove. It simply is. When bamboo bends in the wind, it does not break. When water meets stone, it carves a path without effort. That is the nature of enlightened strength, flexible, patient, consistent. When you know who you are, you no longer beg to be seen. Your presence becomes its own declaration. People may not understand your calm. They may mistake your peace for passivity. Let them. You no longer live to convince anyone. The mountain does not defend its height. It simply stands. Your silence now speaks in a language only truth can hear. This is the power of alignment, when your energy and actions no longer contradict. You've stopped performing worth and begun embodying it. Quiet confidence does not seek attention, yet it attracts everything meant for it. It doesn't demand love, it emanates it. And the universe, recognizing its own reflection, bows in return. The deeper you rest in this self-love, the more effortless life becomes. You don't need to chase what you already are. Here is the final teaching: love yourself as the universe loves you completely, without condition, without delay. The Buddha said that even in the darkest night, your true nature shines like the sun hidden behind clouds. It has never dimmed, only been covered. When you see this clearly, striving dissolves into gratitude. You realize that enlightenment was never about becoming divine, but about remembering your divinity. Close your eyes one last time. Feel your breath soft, steady. Whisper to yourself, I am the space. I am the peace. I am enough. Let those words echo through every cell. Feel the stillness bloom. The old self bows, and the new one, lighter, freer, truer, rises in silence. You have not become someone new. You have simply remembered who you have always been. And so this journey ends where it began, in stillness, in awareness, in love. Nothing left to chase, nothing left to prove. Only the quiet, knowing that you are already home.